Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. My name is Dan and I'm here to bring you another FPL video. So we're back again with the watch list series where I break down 5 players that I think we should consider moving for in this game week and beyond. And I've also got a couple of direct Rodrigo replacements in here, as I know a lot of managers are looking at alternative options for him. If you are new to the channel, then please do consider subscribing to me. It is free and you can always change your mind. And of course, if you enjoy the content, then please smash that like button below. So let's get into the first option then. I'm going to start off right off the bat with a very big differential in terms of FPL at the moment. Currently only 2.8% owned at time of creating the content. He's priced at 7 million, but it is of course Isak from Newcastle. Now, already scored a goal in his debut against Liverpool, formidable opponents of course, and managed to actually put 2 goals into the net. It just so happened that the second one was marginally offside. So I think potentially, although with such a small data size, it's maybe a little bit too early to go on him. But with those fixtures coming up, right, he looks like a great option. I think for anybody that doesn't necessarily want to sell Rodrigo or is looking for an alternative option in a different area, maybe if you've got some money in the bank, then you can upgrade your 4.5 million striker to Isak instead, right? So, and then essentially just bench Rodrigo. So his statistics are looking pretty promising so far. Of course, we've only got one data set in terms of a heat map, so his touches are kind of scattered and we don't see enough data yet, but I do think he is worth a punt. He's looking good. I think, you know, in terms of an out-and-out striker with Wilson's injury record, Chris Wood, I think, was bought as pretty much a backup anyway to him from Burnley. So I imagine that this man will feature predominantly throughout the season. And of course, with Newcastle, it's a team we must remember don't feature in many midweek fixtures, of course, other than cup matches. So ultimately, no European football to worry about, and potentially an alternative budget option to Mitrovic, who is also on this list later down the line. So I like his stats. I like his movement around the box. I think you know, from looking at what he produced in other leagues, ultimately he looks very promising as a Newcastle player. So one to consider. Maybe a little bit too early, like I say, and maybe in the punt territory, but thought I'd put him here first. So he's number 1 on the list first of all. Number 2, we've then got Wilfried Zaha. He has made previous watch lists before, but now rising in price to 7.2 million. With just over 11% of managers backing him to do well. The next few fixtures, I would argue, aren't as easy on paper as maybe they look. I mean, Newcastle away is not going to be an easy fixture. I think St James's Park is going to be pretty much rocking after that disappointing loss at Anfield in the last minute. He does like to score a goal against Man United, so I can see a potential return there. And of course, Brighton again at the Amex at the moment, they're just looking very strong. So 2 away fixtures in the next 3 against what I would consider formidable defences. I could see, as I say, a return against Manchester United, and then of course game week 9 and 10 Chelsea and Leeds. So if you are looking to, as a short term maybe replacement for Rodrigo up until the game week 9 wildcard, I do think potentially he can produce something. But ultimately, I think his 4 goals so far have been, you know, fantastic in terms of performances, but I'm not so sure that he's going to continue in that vein. He is, of course, on penalties. At that price point, I think he's very valuable. So definitely a strong consideration of mine as well. But like I say, I just anticipate that we may see a little fall off over the next few weeks. But of course, that's just speculation. So I like the areas that he gets into. He seems to be, you know, creating chances as well as putting them away for Palace. He does predominantly kind of, I wouldn't say he's a selfish player, but he definitely looks to score the goal rather than squaring it, for example, or crossing it. But still registered 1 big chance created and 6 chances created in the games he's played. So yeah, I think overall he's a very good asset to consider. Moving into the third option then, another Rodrigo potential replacement. He was someone that I felt was maybe under the radar a little bit, but looking at Southampton's fixtures, it looks pretty good. Even, you know, if you're not considering a game week 9 wildcard, he only plays Manchester City in game week 10 in terms of a top 6 side. All the other sides there, I can definitely see some kind of return from him. He's actually created 13 chances. He's in the top 5 for chances created in total for midfielders. So, you know, 3 big chances created as well on top of that. Only scoring 21 points in terms of his FPL stats so far. And his XG is quite low in comparison to his expected assists. But we must remember that he is on direct free kicks and all set pieces, essentially. He's on penalties, direct free kicks, and both side corners, as you can see in the heat map below me. So I think he's getting in the right areas. Southampton ultimately lack a little bit of that finesse in terms of the finishing touch, right? And I think that's why we haven't seen as many returns for Ward-Prowse as of yet. But again, with those fixtures and at 6.5 million, so pretty much a like-for-like replacement for Rodrigo, I think he potentially could be a slight differential in terms of a kind of short-term punt as opposed to Zaha up until that game week 9. So definitely someone that I'm considering to bring in. The next on the list then is someone that potentially is a little bit too far in terms of how we have to dissect our teams to get to him. But Raheem Sterling has done nothing but impress so far, in my opinion. He's scored 3 goals, got an assist, 32 points so far. He's kind of, you know, he was playing as a potential false 9 really in terms of the setup that Pep had at City, and he's kind of doing more of a kind of fill-in number 9 role at the moment for Chelsea. But ultimately, he's getting in the right places. He's in the areas that we want him to be, and yeah, like I say, he's producing some great statistics here with XG of 0.58 and XA of 0.33. I think is very respectable. The only tricky fixture, of course, he's got is his old club Liverpool in game week 8 there at home. So West Ham and Fulham potentially could see more returns there. Maybe in game week 8 it'll be a little bit trickier, but again, if you can reach him and you are looking to get out of him from game week 9 onwards, or potentially even keeping him post wildcard, potentially he's a price point, if you can reach it, that we maybe need to consider moving forward. You've also got Bruno Fernandes in that position, looked quite good against Leicester yesterday in spots, right? So in terms of moving up or down, potentially you've got, you know, both ends. You can go as high as De Bruyne for an extra 2 million, or you can go back down to that 8 million, 7 million price point if he stops performing, right? So if you can squeeze this far, I think he ultimately is a great option. I just think his fixtures are maybe a little bit more tricky than some of the other options, as well as that difficult price point for him. So yeah, very, very solid pick though overall. And finally, last but not least, of course, as mentioned earlier, talking about Isak, it is, of course, this man, Mitrovic. Now, I think a lot of people anticipated that he may not be able to replicate what he did in the Championship, in the Premier League, as has been the case in the past when he's been promoted with Fulham previously. But he's scored 5 goals already, so in 5 games, that's, you know, nothing to be sniffed at. With a 0.84 xG per 90, it's a very, very valuable asset to own. 6.8 million now, started off at 6.5 million, has risen in price by 0.3 already, trusted by 22.8% of managers. Ultimately though, for me, I can't see the reason why he's kind of the bottom of the list, if you can consider this a kind of tier list of players to bring in, is Tottenham and Chelsea in game week 6 and 7. Just, I know he's already scored and proven against the likes of Arsenal, of course, and Liverpool, that he can score goals against the big sides. I think it maybe is a bit too early to jump on him. Again, I could eat my words. He's on penalties. He's still a great asset to own, I think. But for me personally, I would maybe consider him from game week 9 onwards in a wild card. And I think, to be honest, at this point, after watching him from an eye test perspective, looking at the statistics, and look at the heat map in terms of where he is in the box, right? I mean, he does get a lot of expected minutes, and again, Fulham are a side that don't have any midweek congestion, so as a budget option, I think ultimately he definitely needs to come into our thinking, and is possibly on the very, very cusp of a must own for me come game week 9 on the wild card. So definitely still recommend going for him if you want to. He's, you know, like I say, he's already put in shifts against some of the top 6 teams already. So maybe against Tottenham and Chelsea, he can return again. So that's going to wrap up the watch list for game week 6, guys. I hope you found the content useful as always. Let me know in the comments below if you are making moves for any of the players mentioned today, or you've got some alternatives that you have in mind. I hope again that you did well in game week 5, and I will be putting out a team selection video either later on this evening or first thing tomorrow morning, followed by a live stream, as always, for that all-important deadline for game week 6. So another fast turnaround, guys. I hope you're ready for the weekend's games. And yeah, take care. I'll see you in the next video.